Hello, thank you so much for joining me in today's video where we will be diving into some juicy topics including masturbation, blowjobs, and all things revolving around sex. I am a very sex positive person, I think because in my upbringing I was not raised at all to talk about sex, and so I've pretty much molded myself into the complete opposite, which you see quite frequently. Me and my friends are always sharing our tips with one another, and it's just really empowering. I also think it's important for people to have more than one resource to go to learn about sex and to talk about sex and have conversations like this. I'm also going to be trying Pinterest hairstyles because the last Pinterest hairstyle trying video you guys really liked. And before I dive into the first topic, I just want to say that no matter where you are with your relationship to sex and your sexuality, that it is so valid and you should really own your truth and feel confident in it, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way that you feel about sex or your experiences. It's all just a learning experience and a constantly evolving relationship. So as we dive into this first hairstyle, this is what I got the inspo from. It's like these two braids and then these two buns right here in the front, which I think looks so cute. So I am going to section my hair in 4 parts. So I wanted to start off talking about masturbation because I do think that your relationship with your own body and your own sexual energy is the most important to feel comfortable in. You know, if you don't feel comfortable with your body and the way that you orgasm and what you enjoy sexually on your own, then it's going to be really hard to share that with a partner. Also, the more present you can be when you are masturbating, the more present you can be when you're sharing your sexual energy with someone else. And this shifted for me when I started to practice more tantric practices in my masturbation, and so much of the Taoist beliefs about sexual energy is that it's constantly kind of like circulating through you, is this like sexual life energy in the seeds of your sexual organs, and that you can cultivate it and rise it up the spine in every moment without even actually having an orgasm or even touching yourself, not rushing the experience at all. So I always say to make love to yourself the way that you want someone else to make love to you and worship your body. And I also think that sensuality is different from sexuality, and sensuality is just being in your body and surrendering to all the delicious sensations that we have in these physical bodies, because it's almost like this dance and this flirtation with life that can be happening all the time when you connect to your senses. Like feeling the wind on your skin, it just feels like the wind is beckoning you to dance and to move with it, and it feels so sensual. And also just connect to your breath. As you inhale, squeeze your pussy, and as you exhale, you can just release it. And also, I call my vagina, I call it my yoni or my pussy, and I personally feel comfortable using those words, but if you don't, then that's totally valid. I think a lot of femmes carry shame and judgment around what their bodies look like, mostly because I think a lot of us have learned about sex through porn, where there's a very particular look of the labia and the nipples, and it's just unfortunate that so many people look in the mirror at their vaginas, at their labia, and think that it's ugly or gross or are embarrassed about it, because there is not just one like beautiful or perfect pussy, which was honestly a revelation to me a few years ago. I was like, oh yeah, there isn't such thing as like a perfect pussy. It's all literally just conditioning, just like we are conditioned to believe that European beauty standards are the pinnacle of beauty. And I think that maybe a lot of us know that these unrealistic beauty standards are all just a marketing tactic to feed into capitalism. But even knowing that knowledge mentally, it's still hard to remove the like spiritual or energetic shame that we might feel when we look in the mirror. And for me, anytime I've had a point of shame or something that I'm not super proud of or comfortable with, I rest into that area even more. And so if you do have any kind of unrelenting just dis-ease with the way that your body looks, especially, you know, those more intimate areas, I recommend masturbating in the mirror, taking even more time to love this part of yourself that you feel like is wrong. Try to release the conditioning on a physical level. Look at your body, stroke your body, touch it, and affirm to yourself how beautiful you are. Even the fact that you can bring yourself to so much pleasure is like incredible. And anyone also who has ever made you feel bad about your body, or maybe in the present is making you feel bad about the way you look, I honestly think you should cut them out of your life right now. They don't deserve to be let in and to receive the magic of your orgasm. or of your body. Most of my life, I have not used toys. I just felt like vibrators were really intense for me. I never really liked dildos either for whatever reason. I've never owned a dildo, but I got a vibrator once and it was so intense that it literally hurt my clit. I threw it out 2 days later, and I haven't really invested in a vibrator since, until recently. My friend was telling me about this toy that like suctions your clit, and I was like, wow, that sounds really interesting, because it's not quite a vibrator and it's definitely not a dildo, but it just sounds like something I've never heard of before. And luckily I got to try this amazing sex toy out. It's by the brand Lalo. It's called the Sonic Cruise. Lalo is a luxury sex toy company all about empowering women and ending the stigma around female sexual pleasure. I have not really frequented sex toys at all, and I have a very sensitive clit, and this feels like nothing I've ever really experienced. It doesn't necessarily even feel like it's sucking your clit. It feels like the sensation of getting oral pleasure from someone, and it feels really real, not so electronic, which is something that always kind of turned me off from sex toys. It has different patterns. It sounds like this, and then there's different patterns. I'm just like, let me take a sip of water. I think that this would be a great beginner toy for anyone who's starting out with sex toys, which I kind of feel like I am, or for someone who has been using sex toys for a very long time. I was honestly very apprehensive when I tried it, but this is like addicting in the best way. I know a lot more people are at home and exploring their bodies during this time in the world, so if you're interested and want to check out a new luxury toy to pleasure yourself with, then there'll be the first link in the description box below. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm just gonna separate these two front tendrils of hair because it's my favorite thing to do. Next, I wanted to talk about sex positions, being on top, being on the bottom. And let me just start out by saying I am a switch, I'm verse, I like to dominate and be dominated, and both are really, really fun. And I'm really grateful to explore both of those things in my sex life. I'm also queer, if anyone didn't know. Hi, my name's Hitomi Mochizuki, and I am queer. And I'm not currently having sex with anyone in my life. So I think this is so cute. This is the first hairstyle. I think I could have left more hair on the bottom for these braids to make them a bit thicker, but I really like the way that this looks. It's so cute, and I think this could definitely work on short hair. I'm really into it. The next hairstyle I'm gonna do is this one. At least I'm gonna try to recreate it. It just looks like buns going down the back of the hair, which is quite beautiful. It looks like a warrior hairstyle, kind of like a Mulan inspired hairstyle, so I'm down to try it. But when you're having sex, if you do like to be more submissive and dominated, I think it's really hot just to be very vocal and let the other person know what you're really enjoying that they're doing, and to, of course, if you're a missionary, like wrap your legs around them. If you ever have access to their neck or their ear, just bite their neck and nibble and suck, and don't just lay there and let them take you, but like be a part of it. Kind of like fuck them back, even though you're on the bottom. Go with their rhythm, lift your hips up and match their energy. But for being on top, so let's go back to that conversation. Pretty much, if you're having sex with someone with a penis or a dildo, just ride that joystick and just use it to your advantage. Just use it to pleasure yourself. I mean, that's what it's there for in that moment. And I wanted to share some of my favorite positions on top. So when I'm gonna turn to the side for this hairstyle, one of my favorite positions is to be facing my partner and having one knee bent and the other leg is on the bed, like my calf is on the bed, and I almost like point my foot like a little ballerina, and I'll have my hands on their chest or on their neck, like choking them, and just ride up and down. And I like this position because it doesn't hurt my knees. Like if I'm propped up on both knees, I can't go as long. You also have the ability to move around and to do circles, to like scoot back and forth, or just to go up and down. You know, you just have a lot of leverage and ways to move, and you have access to the clit. So I like this one. It's also really beautiful. From this position, you can also just put your hands down and just go on all fours and just lean forward, bite their neck, nibble their ear, twerk your butt. That's really nice and really easy and comfortable. I like to do positions that I can sustain for a long period of time and just focus on the stroke and just touch myself. And you can also just touch your boobs and just really fully enjoy yourself. This one, I don't do that often, but it just looks really pretty and really elite when you can do a split on the dick. When you can do a split, and so like my right leg will be up here and my left leg will be behind me, and I'll kind of almost be sideways but not really, and I'll have both of my hands down, and then you can just like twerk your butt up and down in a split on the dick. It looks really hot. And like I said, you can do these positions with a dildo as well. If you're having sex on the couch, it's really nice to put your hands on the back part of the couch or on the headboard. So for this hair, just a really quick back to the hair tutorial, I'm just gonna do a little bun like that, and then I'm gonna add more hair and do another bun. And this is probably going to be kind of messy. Actually, my favorite position, which I think is one of the most beautiful, is when you're on top facing them, you're putting your feet flat on the bed and you're going back onto your hands. But basically from here, you're just looking like the most beautiful goddess in the world, because whoever is penetrating you can see your pussy like opening and closing to their penis. They can see your boobs. They can just watch you like touching your boobs or rubbing your clit. They can also rub your clit here. They can also see your facial expressions just in every way. It's such a beautiful position. Pretty easy to do. And if the person that you're sleeping with has a smaller penis or the dildo is small and keeps on popping out, just have them hold the bottom of their shaft so that when you're like popping up and like sliding it out, it doesn't just fling forward, because some people have penises that are curved very like upward, and if that's the case, just have them hold it so that it stays in the same place and you can just land back on it and suck it back into yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is the hairstyle. Upon taking some photos, I realized this looks a bit messy, but it's still kind of cool, you know? It's still a vibe. All right, now let's get into positions from behind, where your butt is in your partner's face while you're riding them. A beautiful thing. I used to feel self-conscious about like reverse positions. For whatever reason, it just felt like too invasive or something like that. The next hairstyle is just some bubble braids in the front, and I was inspired just to put some dried wildflowers in my hair, and I'm getting a phone call. Hi!
Is this Romania or...
Positions from behind. So you can do that same one knee bent, other leg flat on the mattress position from behind as well. But I think one of my favorite positions from behind, or just reverse, if the person's legs are like this on the mattress, they're kind of spread apart, and then both of my legs are in between your legs, from this position of your knees together and just kind of squatting up and down. It's just a really comfortable reverse position that you can do for really long, and it just looks really hot, and they can like finger your butthole if you're into that and spank you. And I guess that's the beauty of all kind of like reverse positions, but this one is just really easy to do, and hopefully they're flexible enough so it doesn't hurt them when you're doing it. But the great thing about this is you can also come down onto your hands and be on all fours and just bounce and like kind of twerk your butt on the dick, and it looks so beautiful. Once again, if they have a small penis, they can just hold the shaft and it won't like flop out as much, or if they just have like a very curved penis, you know, there's no shame, but sometimes it can be harder to do certain positions depending on the size or the shape, and it's all good. You can find other ways around it. And of course, you can just do normal like straddling the person and just going up and down and all around and rubbing your clit and all of that. But I just think that that can just get kind of boring. These are just things that I enjoy. There are so many different positions and ways to have sex and things that feel good, but this is just coming from my humble experience, and I'm sweating right now. I've probably gotten progressively more oily throughout this video. I personally like when a girl just sits on my face. That's like my favorite thing. So let's just move into the oral conversation. Maybe I should make a whole sex video about queer sex. I generally like to have the clit be the last place that I put my mouth. Like, I will bite and nibble and kiss and caress every single part of a person's body before touching their clit, just because the clit is so sensitive and I feel like very easily activated, that I just want my partner to be dripping wet before I even touch the clit, and to have them be like moaning and panting for it essentially. And I just really like teasing and foreplay, I just kind of want the person to be like begging for my mouth on their clit. There's so many different parts of the body that are so sensitive. Of course, just like the earlobe, the neck, the lower back, the belly button, and just see how the other person is responding to your mouth and what you're doing. Maybe a little choking, maybe a little pulling of the hair is nice, some scratching of the lower back. I personally love a good earlobe nibble. It's so sensitive, it's so wild, but anytime someone is around my neck or my earlobe, I literally just feel like I freak out and like my eyes roll to the back of my head. But very good things, would recommend. When you're finally ready to start making your way down there, I definitely think the inner thigh is so sensitive for everyone, but one of my favorite things to do is just to like squeeze the person's butt while I'm giving them oral head and just make them feel so held. Even just putting my hands under their butt cheeks and like back over, just really like holding that person's lower body, almost so that they can't move, but obviously they can. It's just like, I have you and I'm gonna pleasure you. Once you get to the holy land of the vagina, I generally like to start out just like licking all from the top to the bottom. I don't really know how to explain like what to do with your tongue. Definitely don't spell the alphabet out. No, you want to be very gentle. Let me just reiterate that as many times as I can, because the clit is so sensitive and you never want to get to a point where someone's like, can you be more gentle? Like, I don't know how many times that I've said that. Like, wait, you're kind of hurting me. You don't want to get to that point. So just be more like tender than you have to be. And if they're responding well, maybe you can go in with a little bit more pressure, but it has so many nerve endings. So just be gentle with the clit. That's all I'm gonna say. Use the flat part of your tongue, use the tip of your tongue, do different patterns, just keep it consistent. Watch how your partner is responding, you know? There's no like one formula of licking a clit. And once they're really wet and excited, I just like to like slide a finger in. Personally, I just like one finger in, just like the middle finger. That feels really good to me. Sometimes it's overwhelming if there's more than one, but generally it feels really good if you massage the upper wall of the vagina with one finger or two fingers and keep the fingers together. Do that infamous come hither motion. If you feel it a little bit more of a rougher area, you probably hit the G spot. I think it's about 1 or 2 inches inside the actual vagina. From there, if you keep massaging the upper wall while licking the clit, that's like the golden ratio. It just feels really good, mixing that G spot pleasure with that clitoral pleasure. And also, if your partner likes to squirt, you can be a little bit more intense with that upward wall massaging. And for me, in my experience, that's usually how I've squirted and how I've made other people squirt, is just by doing that combination of like massaging the upper wall and then using my hand to rub the clit. And squirting is so beautiful. I know some people who squirt every single time they have sex, some people who have never squirted. Like I said, it's all valid and it's all so beautiful. Do not be embarrassed if you squirt during sex, because it's so hot. Honestly, the fact that you can get that wet and that juicy, it's a wondrous thing. If you are generally just using one hand, you can use your other hand to do other things, to massage the boobs, to choke their neck, to like spank them. If they want a finger in their butt, you can do that with your other hand. And it's nice to have a free hand just to continue exploring the other parts of their body, or just to hold them as they're like, you know, quivering in pleasure. When you can tell that your partner is about to come, just keep doing that same pattern. Do not stop. You know, it's just a learning process. And the more that you have sex with someone, the more that you'll learn what they like. I know a lot of queer people who don't really like scissoring or like rubbing their clit against the other person's clit. I personally really like it, and I think there are a lot of different fun positions you can do doing that, and that you can both get off at the same time, which is really nice. But some people aren't into it, so it's just all about your sexual chemistry with someone else and their boundaries. This one, well, a few femmes that I've hooked up with as we were like progressing into having sex, they were like, is this okay with you? Are you comfortable with this? And they just kept asking, even when they were just taking my shirt off and kissing my neck, I was like, yes. And that is just a really nice thing to do when you just really check in with someone and make sure that they're comfortable. If they want to stop, it's totally fine. And anytime anyone's asked me that question, it has just made me feel so safe and protected. And I just know, like, if I wanted to stop right now, it would be totally fine. And that just made me even more horny, honestly, knowing that all of my boundaries are being honored. And I hope that in the coming years, as we speak our boundaries, they can be honored more and more. And I think a lot of people don't speak their boundaries out of fear that they won't be honored. So you can be the person in the sexual exchange to just check in with your partner or whoever the heck you're hooking up with and just be like, is this okay with you? Are you comfortable? And all that kind of stuff. And just be that person. It's hot also when someone just takes control and like reads the signs that you want to get laid and they just go for it. I think that's really hot too. But it's a balance for sure. Make sure that the other person feels safe and that there's a lot of trust, because otherwise it can feel really intense and scary to be dominated. So you might have just noticed me failing at putting some of these white wildflowers in my hair. I don't know, it might just look like lice, and I'm not really about that. Now, for giving oral to a penis, a fun pastime of mine, I like to start licking from the bottom all the way to the top. I don't just put the whole thing in my mouth. Maybe sometimes I do, but generally I also like to be a little bit slower, get them excited. It's a lot easier to get them excited. Just kind of tease it and just lick up and down. I love to slide my lips up and down and just have it between my lips like that, and just like slide my lips up and down and just be so sensual with it. I also feel like I receive pleasure from having things in my mouth, and that's why I just really enjoy oral. And I think it's important to actually be enjoying what you're doing so that you can take your time and it's not like you're just trying to get it over with kind of thing. And then I will slide it to the back of my throat. So for deep throating, just two little pointers. If their penis is curved towards one direction, try to put it in your mouth at the direction that it's curved so that it just goes down your throat a little bit easier. Not everyone has a super curved penis, but generally there's like a little bit of a curve. Also, generally try to keep your tongue over your teeth, at least your back teeth, especially if they have a really big penis, because otherwise you will be scraping them with your teeth, which is really painful. Basically, you just wanna, this is gonna sound so crass, but slob on the knob, like get sloppy with it, get your saliva all over it, make noises, moan. You can rub your clit while you're sucking on it, which that vibration of you moaning while you're sucking it feels really good. I like to twist and like jerk my head back and forth. And you know, the only reason I'm giggling when I say this stuff is because I'm semi-uncomfortable at like the immense amount of sexualization of people just visualizing me doing this stuff, which is fine. I know it's gonna happen, but I genuinely just want to share this so that you can do it yourself and enjoy giving head. But yeah, you're just gonna want to like twist and jerk your head back and forth. Get really sloppy. Don't be afraid of gagging on it. I think that's really hot. Let the saliva drip out. Use your lips. You can like suction your lips as you go up and down, or you can just keep your mouth like fully open as you're deep throating, and even just put their hands on your head to let them know they can push your head down if you're into that. And if you're not as comfortable with deep throating, or you feel like you're just gagging the whole time, use your hand, connect your hand to your lips basically, and just go down with your hand so that you don't necessarily have to fully swallow someone's penis, but you can just twist it as you're going up and down. Keep that suction, break the suction, and lick the tip a little bit. You can do two hands and twist while you're also sucking it and going up and down. That feels really good. I generally like to use one hand because then you can do other stuff with the other hand, like massage the balls or like finger their butt if they're into that. But generally, I feel like I try not to just lick the tip like a dog licking its water bowl. Definitely wrap your lips all over it and try to go down and use your hand and massage the balls. And also, if you don't fully feel comfortable putting the whole thing in your mouth, you can just jerk it off and suck on their balls a little bit. Keep it going, keep moaning, keep slobbing on it. It's also fun to just like pop it out of your mouth from your little suction. It makes that little noise, or just slap it on your tongue as you're like jerking it off. And those are just some oral tips. There are so many different things you can do out there, and probably examples that you can find of all of this. I know some people really don't like deep throating. I don't have any tips for getting better at it except for just practicing. Also, if you really want to deep throat and it just literally won't go down your throat, something that helps is if you're lying down, let's say there's a bed, you're lying down at the edge of the bed with your head hanging down, and then they put their penis in your mouth from there, it should just go right into your throat a lot easier if that's something that you want to try. Let's just talk about 69 really quick. 69 is something that my friends and I don't truly enjoy. I really like 69 on the side. So both of you are on your side and you can each give each other oral pleasure, and it's just way more comfortable. You can still have someone's head in a chokehold with your legs, which is hot, but they can move away. They're not like being pinned down, which I really like. So I think 69 on the side is the life hack for that. Some life hacks that my friends have shared. My friend said that she puts a drop of lavender in her panties before she has a dick appointment. My other friend said that she will be riding on a dick and facing their feet, so she'll be reversed and she'll just be riding up and down and go down and stick a toe in her mouth, and that's a life hack too. I don't think that I've sucked a toe, and honestly I think if someone did it to me I probably wouldn't mind at all. It would probably be great. Swirl it around your mouth and put it back down. You don't have to like full on slob all over someone's toe unless they're really into that, but I think just a quick suck and then put it back down would be really hot. And she was like, yeah, guys just don't really expect that, so they really like it. But yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. This is the last hairstyle. In my first trying Pinterest hairstyles video, I definitely did a lot more different unique ones, and there were so many that I found on Pinterest that I really want to do. They just required different kinds of ribbon and lace. Okay, the last topic that I quickly wanted to talk about was just getting tested and using protection. I always recommend using protection, especially when you're just hooking up with someone casually. And don't be afraid about being honest and asking, when was the last time you got tested? Even if we are using protection, I'd rather know. I get tested pretty much every time after I have sex, which with someone new at least, and my gynecologist told me this is unnecessary and that if I'm using protection I don't have to come in every time I'm having sex with someone. But that's just, I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, so that's what makes me feel safe. Like, I'm just gonna be safe and make sure everything's good if I'm hooking up with someone new for the first time, and then obviously long term I will trust them. Like, I was in a 3-year relationship, but I still got tested once a year just because it's healthy to go and get checkups, and for anyone who has a yoni, you have to get a pap smear once a year to make sure that there's no cervical cancer. But it's mostly because my insurance covers it, and I'm just like, why not? Just be safe. Also, I think being spiritually safe is really important. I've mentioned this before. Just checking in with someone and letting someone know your boundaries, what you're looking for, what you're not. If someone disrespects my boundaries, I just have no tolerance for that, and I used to allow people to push past my boundaries all the time, and I just refuse. There's no point in letting someone else push me past the point that I'm comfortable, just out of obligation or just to avoid awkwardness or any kind of confrontation. And so I am straight up with people now, and I am so grateful for it. Don't worry about hurting someone else's feelings if it means keeping yourself safe. And I think that so many people get hung up on people who don't even respect them, and it's so sad, because if you want to be having better sex, if you want to be having sex where you feel safe and comfortable, where you're respected, that is so accessible. There's so many people who like want to worship you and want to also just have a mutual sexual exchange, and you don't need to hold on to a sex partner or a fuck buddy who is literally just disrespecting you and making you feel like crap all the time. And for me, sexual interactions, I'm not attracted to people just based off of looks. I'm not really attracted to like necessarily pretty boys or pretty girls. I'm so attracted to the energy that someone puts out there and their confidence and their sense of knowing themselves. People who are just present and in the moment, and you can just sit there with me and breathe deep and notice all the little details of the trees and the sunlight and the birds, and who can just really listen. That is so attractive to me. And I don't care if someone has a 6-pack or like perfectly big, even perky boobs. I'm just like, that's great, but spiritually, I need to be fulfilled and seen and honored. Sex, when you're seen and heard, is like transcendental, and when you can connect your breath with someone else, that's also just a life hack. Like, connect your breath with someone else and sit on their lap and just start, without even like penetration, just start touching and massaging each other with your connected breath, squeezing your yoni in as you inhale exhaling and squeezing your yoni out or pushing your yoni out, and just explore each other's body. That way you will feel this like sexual energy build so strongly, and that's a beautiful thing. But yeah, don't settle for less than you know you deserve. And also, if you are currently, I'm just gonna make one last note, navigating a lot of heavy trauma around sex, then I definitely think that keeping your sexual energy to yourself can be really beautiful. And every time that you orgasm, setting the intention of healing and of loving yourself, and just remembering that orgasming is such a high vibrational experience. It's so full, it's so enrapturing, every bit of your body just feeling this bliss and pleasure, and that is so pure and that is so beautiful, and you can actually use that experience to manifest and to call upon things. I will set an intention for my orgasm, like in this orgasm I just want to bring in so much joy, and I'll just find myself laughing and laughing as I'm like rippling in pleasure, or I really want to have the intention of releasing. I think that a lot of times we absorb the energy of our partners when we're having sex, or every time that we're having sex with someone, it's an energetic exchange, and sometimes that energy can linger. So maybe your intention can be, I just want to release this energy. I want to return fully back to myself. And also, don't force yourself to come. If you don't want to come, then just don't force it, because that's another thing that would cause me to feel sad after, is if I forced my body to have an orgasm when it just didn't want to. Really be kind and tender with this vessel. We are these spiritual beings, and our psychology can be so riddled and so simple yet so like intricate at the same time. Be tender with yourself if you are healing. And if you are masturbating and exploring your sexual energy, I highly recommend checking out Lelo, the luxury sex toy company, and just another shout out to them for sponsoring this video. I genuinely just really love this thing and have been so delightfully surprised at how much I love it and how natural of a sensation it feels like. They will be the first link in my description below. I'm really excited to try more products out from them. Thank you for watching, for being just as you are in this moment. I cherish you so deeply, and I'll see you in a video soon. Bye!